Hey guys, welcome back to Derezed. This is going to be a gaming news roundup. This is Neon. We're going to talk about everything going on in gaming. If you're new to the podcast, make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, wherever it is you find better podcasts, including ours. So yeah, this is going to be a roundup. We're going to do these occasionally in the main podcast timeline. We're going to talk about a variety of different gaming stories in between interviews and roundtables. So this is going to be the first one that we're doing. We'll see how it goes. See how you guys like it. Again, this podcast is powered by Patreon. Go to patreon.com/clownfishtv. You can get podcasts early. You can help support the main Clownfish TV YouTube channel and Clownfish Gaming, and some of these news bites will probably wind up on Clownfish Gaming. We also do a bunch of gameplay over there, so hang tight, guys. We got a whole bunch of news for you today, including Terraria beating Mario Brothers in sales, and Palworld going big time. So stick around. All right, guys, welcome back to Derezed. We've got gaming news for you, of course. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Terraria. Remember Terraria? It was kind of the 2D Minecraft, Metroidvania type game. Very popular for a while. I think it's still pretty popular. Well, obviously it is. According to this article on Niche Gamer, it has sold over 58 million copies, topping the original Super Mario Brothers in sales. Can you imagine that? Super Mario Brothers was one of the best-selling games of all time, and Terraria has actually beaten it in sales. So again, this is coming from Niche Gamer. They said the new milestone is actually over 58.7 million copies as of the end of last month in June 2024, making the game more successful than the original Super Mario Brothers for the NES. It's been quite some time since we gave an update on just how massive the Terraria fan base has grown, the developer said in an update. This was somewhat by design, as we had our sights set on doing so once we had passed a somewhat obscure game about a plumber and his brother trying to save a princess from the dragon turtle thing. Depends on the era, I guess. Is he a turtle? Is he a dragon? Yeah, whatever. That reference was a clear nod to the original Super Mario Brothers, which shipped 40 million copies on the original NES and 18 million more copies in its subsequent re-releases and ports, which includes various digital platforms Nintendo's hosted on their later consoles. Some promo art was shared, also making a nod to the flagship Nintendo franchise. Yeah, they can't use actual Nintendo characters. They probably cannot invoke the name of Nintendo, because we know that Nintendo is highly litigious, although I do like the Cthulhu here. The developer adds, once again, we are beyond humbled and thankful for your continued support. It's a force that drives us every day to make even more awesome Terraria experiences. I wonder what might happen when we get to 60 million. Maybe we'll get an actual sequel. I don't know. I thought they stopped developing Terraria. I guess they're still working on it. It's naturally possible the original Super Mario Brothers has managed to sell more copies since then, but it's worth pointing out its latest digital re-release for the Switch online is restricted to subscribers, like all the other classic titles ported to the Switch. So there we go, guys. Terraria, almost 60 million copies. That's kind of crazy. Well, since we're talking about indie games, let's go out here and get some news on Palworld. And now this is a game that we like quite a bit here at Clownfish HQ. Palworld is going to be going big time. They're going to be teaming up with Sony. Let me see if I can find that tweet here. Well, here we have an article on it. Palworld Entertainment is established by Sony Music Japan, Aniplex, and Pocket Pair. So basically what's going on now is Palworld is making strategic alliances to take on Pokemon head-to-head. I guess this kind of fits with the Terraria thing, because, again, we have an independent video game that has exploded, and Palworld's incredibly popular, even though people are trying to say it's dying in popularity. It doesn't have as many concurrent players on Steam as it had, but still very popular. But they're teaming up with Sony and with Aniplex, the same people that worked on Demon Slayer, the Demon Slayer anime, to create an entertainment company that's going to license out Palworld stuff. So we're going to see a bunch of official Palworld merch. The only concern I have is that they're going to make Palworld Sony exclusive, which I think would be a terrible idea. But Palworld only cost a couple of $1 million to make. It wasn't a very expensive game compared to these AAA titles, and they've been trying to destroy it. I know we've talked about it in videos on the channel. I've talked about it in news bites on Clownfish Gaming, but they have tried so hard to destroy Palworld because it smoked so many of these AAA titles that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was done with a lean and mean team. On a shoestring budget, and there were accusations at first that they were lifting off of Pokemon, that they were actually using official Pokemon assets, and it turns out that's not the case. In fact, they've been trying to refute it. According to 80 Level, Palworld's developer says it doesn't use generative AI to create pals or artist draw thousands of sketches. Again, this is coming from 80 Level. Thousands of sketches. They said Palworld's often accused of using generative AI, but reality, we do not use it. This is the CEO of Pocket Pair. Our artists draw thousands of sketches. The magazine feature introduces part of our PAL creation process, so anyone interested should have a look. Nintendo accused them of, again, lifting their assets. And I don't think they had a case, or it probably would be in court by now. They probably would have shut Palworld down. But this is a huge threat for them to team up with Sony, another competitor of Nintendo, to create an entertainment company that's going to do effectively what the Pokemon company does. Because the Pokemon company, remember, is Nintendo and a couple of Game Freak and some other owners that are involved in that. And this is kind of the same thing. This is going to be the company that manages the Palworld stuff. So this, again, coming from Niche Gamer. Sony Entertainment Japan, along with subsidiary Aniplex, have announced, along with Palworld developer Pocket Pair, a new joint venture called Palworld Entertainment. The first merchandise booth will be at the Billy Billy World Tour 2024 in Shanghai on July 12th. So that's going to be today, actually, in a dedicated Palworld booth. While plans for a PlayStation port of Palworld have yet to be confirmed, the fact that Aniplex, an anime company, was involved could soon help with plans for Palworld anime. Yeah, so this is interesting. This is coming from Twitter. Actually, no, this is the press release that they posted on Twitter. So let's read what they're going to do with Palworld. Sony Music Entertainment Japan, Aniplex, and Pocket Pair announced joint venture Palworld Entertainment to expand the breakout game Palworld. They're getting into a lot of into the weeds here. So basically, Sony, Aniplex, and Pocket Pair are going to establish a joint venture, Palworld Entertainment Inc., to expand and develop new businesses associated with Palworld. The announcement was made today in a joint release by all companies. Palworld is a multiplayer open-world survival game created, produced, and published by Pocket Pair, and it became the breakout hit of 2024 when the total number of players surpassed 25 million after only 1 month in release. And this made, again, AAA game studios look really bad, and not long after that, we started seeing a bunch of layoffs. And I don't know if this had anything to do with it or not, but like they all felt like dominoes, right? After this, it was. I think their corporate owners were looking at them like, "Hey, Palworld's bringing in all kinds of players. Helldivers bringing in all kinds of players," and they were made on shoestring budgets compared to what you guys are blowing on Suicide Squad. So the game's currently available on PC, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and the Xbox Game Pass. But now I guarantee it's probably going to be on Sony. Hopefully not exclusive. The company is going to be responsible for developing the reach of the intellectual property and for expanding commercial business endeavors, including the global licensing and merchandising activities associated with Palworld outside of the interactive game. Joint venture efforts will begin starting on July 12th. They're going to be doing merchandise. They're going to be doing anime. They're going to have a Netflix series. Who the hell knows? Who knows? But it's pretty exciting. I mean, it happens so fast, too. And I think, again, this is a case of my enemy of my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy, is my friend. And Sony and Nintendo have a bitter rivalry, and Nintendo has come at Pocket Pair over this game, threatened them with litigation. So they're like, fine, we'll team up together. It's going to be really interesting. Now, I don't know if it's going to blow up to be as big as Pokemon. I mean, Pokemon's got like 30 years on them, right? But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, it could just be like another Digimon where it's like a distant second place. But I don't know. I'm excited. I actually like Palworld quite a bit. So let's talk about Microsoft stupidity. We're going to talk about Microsoft here. Microsoft is asking many Game Pass subscribers to pay more for less. That sounds like a very Microsoft thing. Launch day access to first-party titles are now restricted to $19.99 a month Ultimate tiers. It's come from Ars Technica. It says, for many years now, Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass has set itself apart by offering subscribers launch day access to new first-party titles, in addition to a large legacy library of older games, yes. That important day one perk is now gone for all but the highest tier of Game Pass's console subscribers. It's a very Microsoft move. Even as Microsoft asked for more money for Game Pass across the board, let's start with the price increase. Price increase on Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate is going from $16.99 to $19.99 a month. Game Pass for PC is going from $9.99 a month to $11.99 per month. Game Pass Core, previously known as Xbox Live Gold, is going from $59.99 to $74.99 for annual subscriptions and remains at $9.99 a month if you're doing monthly. Things can get more complicated for the $10.99 a month Xbox Game Pass for console tier. Microsoft announced it will no longer accept new subscribers for that tier after today. Current subscribers will be able to keep it, so they're going to grandfather you in. In its place, Microsoft will, in the coming months, roll out a new $14.99 Xbox Game Pass standard tier. That new option is going to combine the usual access to hundreds of high-quality games on console with the online console multiplayer features that previously required a separate Xbox Game Pass Core subscription. God, this is confusing. This is really, really confusing. Let's take a look at this chart. This is just like Netflix now. Look at this. All right. So for $9.99 a month, you get a limited catalog of 25 games on the console and member deals and discounts. Okay. For $14 a month, you get all that plus the Game Pass catalog that's hundreds of games, but you don't get day one access. For the Ultimate, $20 a month. So they want you to get the Ultimate $20 a month package is what they're pushing you into. You get the day one editions. You get perks and discounts in the Game Pass library. You get EA and Riot benefits, whatever those are, and Xbox Cloud Gaming. Yeah, so this is kind of crap, right? It seems like it's only consoles though. Some games available with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate on day one will not be immediately available with Xbox Game Pass Standard, may be added to the library at a future date. Microsoft says players who want guaranteed access to all those day one releases will now have to subscribe to the $19.99 a month Game Pass Ultimate. This is like GameStop. They're very confused. Like, I'm very confused. That's an 81% increase from the $10.99 a month that console players currently pay for similar day one access on the disappearing Game Pass console tier. Okay. To be fair, according to the article, that extra subscription money does come with some added benefits. I should certainly hope so. Upgrading from Game Pass Console Standard to Game Pass Ultimate lets you use Microsoft's cloud gaming service and the EA Play library. Well, I don't play very many EA games, so I don't really care. And you get additional free perks every month. What the hell does that mean? Yeah, they said basically what they're afraid of is that people are just gonna subscribe to the service and not buy the new games. And new games now are $70. Now they're talking $100 games. So they don't want you to get the good stuff on day one, because if you got the good stuff for $10 or $12 or $15, $20 a month, whatever it was, you'd never buy the games. But we're getting there, aren't we? We're getting to a place where I don't think anybody's going to own their games. I think everything is going to be digital. I think everything is going to be subscription. And that's kind of scary, right? I think that's kind of a scary proposition. So what else do we have here? We covered that. Let's talk about this. Yeah, can we talk about Nintendo? Are we allowed to talk about Nintendo on here? So this is a new Nintendo game coming out called Amiibo. It's already getting a lot of fan art, according to Nintendo Life. This guy looks like he does dubstep music or something, right? What's that guy's name? Marshmallow? So like, this is like a smiley face on like a paper bag or something. This is a new character for a new game that they haven't, I guess, officially rolled out yet. Nintendo's mature horror Amiibo is already getting lots of fan art. So coming from Nintendo, yeah, it's a paper bag with a smiley face. This is Nintendo current year, guys. Coming from Nintendo Life, Nintendo recently revealed a short, spooky teaser for some sort of Switch game known as Amiibo. Details are scarce at the moment, so naturally, fans worldwide have begun to analyze the trailer and speculate on what it might actually be. Is it a new IP or an entry into an existing franchise? Is it being developed by Nintendo or a third-party project? Is it from Silent Hill 2 developer Bloober Team? Who knows? Since it's likely we're in for a bit of a wait until Nintendo spills the beans, whether that be mere hours or several days, fans have decided to kill time by doing fan art. So this is Amiibo, right? Is this just pixel art? Doesn't animate. I see you. Fan art of Nintendo's new horror game. Who is Amiibo? Is this like a viral thing they plan? It's like now we have an Amiibo figure of it. I'm there day one. What if it sucks? Amiibo fan art, because why not? We've got a pencil shaded Amiibo character. So Nintendo, it seems like they're leaning into that kind of cutesy horror genre, right? The FNAF fandom, the Hell of a Boss fandom, the Poppy Playtime. So they're going for horror now. Not sure what's going on, but I'm here for it. Who is Amiibo? Maybe the bag is just like there's going to be a big reveal. And there's actually another character underneath. So everybody drawing fan art of this creepy character. We don't know what the deal is. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea who this guy, person, they, them is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm sure that, sometimes the game characters take on a life of their own. Sometimes the game characters are actually more interesting than the game itself. Sometimes they just take on a total life of their own. And, people make a lot of speculations about these characters. And turns out the game itself is pretty boring, or the anime is pretty boring, but people really like the design of the character. But this is the most basic design ever. Dude in a trench coat with a paper bag on his head. But there we go, guys. We don't know anything about it. We know nothing about this game. What else we got going on here? Okay, this is kind of concerning. This is Stellar Blade developer Shift Up is raising $320 million in IPOs. They're going public. Why is it concerning? It's concerning because anytime a company has outside investors and they have private equity firms get involved, they have certain expectations. They have certain things that they want to see. This might explain partially why we had the kerfuffle. Can we call the kerfuffle over the costume choices, over the designs of the costumes, the revealing costumes, the naughty costumes in this game in Stellar Blade. So they probably had their eye on going public, and they were probably like, yeah, we can't do anything that's too controversial because we're going public. But part of the reason the game sold so well was that they, at least initially, listened to the fans, right? They listened to the fandom, but then they kind of used that to get themselves millions of dollars. And this is what happened with Embracer Group buying all these studios, these independent studios, and then they start having people come in and push for certain agendas or certain sensitivity. You got to cut back on this. You got to cut back on that, whatever. And this is kind of how we wind up with the completely homogeneous, bland AAA gaming space that we have right now. And this is also why gamers are rejecting these games and everything is imploding, in my opinion. Again, you had Embracer Group buying like everybody. And this is kind of the same thing. And I think that this means Shift Up is not going to push boundaries. Shift Up is going to just become another AAA gaming studio, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I've seen this happen 100 times already with other game companies, comic book publishers, movie studios, any indie company that takes that money from venture capitalists, from investors, or they go public, they get weak. They they get this infusion of cash, right? So they can grow faster in the short term, but in the long term, they wind up kind of destroying themselves and losing the plot and becoming very homogenous, because you've got bankers and investors and people with their eye on DEI and trying to make the blandest, most palatable products out there, because they're trying to maximize revenue, right? And I don't know how this is going to go. But here's the story. This is coming from gamesindustry.biz. Stellar Blade developer Shift Up raises $320 million IPO. Initial public offering was South Korea's largest ever for a games company since 2021. Wow. Bloomberg reports it's the largest IPO in South Korea in over 2 years, and the first of at least 50 million since 2021, when PUBG developer Krafton raised $3.8 billion. PUBG went public? Damn. It's also the second largest of all South Korean IPOs in 2024, surpassed only by the $553 million offering by HD Hyundai Marine Solution. In addition to Stellar Blade, Shift Up is best known for mobile games Goddess of Victory, Nikki, and Destiny Child, not to be confused with Destiny's Child. The studio was formed in 2013. It said plans to use the proceeds to expand its games portfolio. And I'm telling you, they're going to grow faster, but they're going to be nerfed. And I've seen this so many times, especially in recent years. It's not so much with Nintendo, where I don't think they took a lot of investment capital at first. I think they're public, but they grew organically. But anytime one of these companies goes public and they get like a BlackRock or a Blackstone, they both used to be the same thing. Now they're not, but they have kind of the same agenda, right? And they're going to come in and they're going to make it bland, and they're going to have their sensitivity readers come in, and they're going to have to say approved corporate speak things in public. They're not going to be able to get into it on Twitter. So it's going to change things, in my opinion. Now, that being said, they might put out some good games, but I don't think Shift Up is going to be the feisty indie hero studio that people have tried to bill them as being. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, my own experience, but we've worked with investors before, and they do have a lot more control and a lot more say over a company than people realize. They really do. Like, if this is where your money's coming from, if these people are sitting on the board, they have certain expectations, and usually the expectation is you grow the company to a certain size and then you sell it. That is 99.9% of the time kind of the end goal. So they're going to grow Shift Up to a certain point, and then they'll probably sell it to a bigger company like Sony, or I'd say Embracer, but I don't think Embracer can buy any. I don't think they can buy anything at this point. I said Shift Up's share price jumped 49% the first day of trading, reaching as high as 89,500 won, or $64 a share. Nearly 7.3 million shares were sold at $43.49 each. Bloomberg reports demand for shares was 226 higher than availability. Okay, here's where it's going to be a potential issue. Founder and CEO is that Hyung Tae Kim will remain the company's largest shareholder. Okay, so at least the founder and the CEO has the lion's share of stock. Tencent is the second largest, and I guarantee you eventually you're going to get like a BlackRock or a Blackstone in there. They're already investing heavily in the webtoon. It's going to happen, and it's just that kind of homogenization of entertainment that we're seeing. I think you can trace a lot of it back to these companies selling out, becoming public. going public, getting investors. That's my personal opinion. So speaking of, God, now we're going to get really dark. So we're going to wrap this one up with this story talking about indie developers and the reason that they might take capital, venture capital. This is an article just the other day from Wired. Said, death occurs in the dark. Indie video game developers are struggling to survive. So why would you take venture capital? Well, you're struggling to survive, right? Like you want to make it. So you're going to take venture capital. If your sales aren't that great and you want to grow, you're going to take venture capital. You're going to make strategic alliances with companies like Sony. You're going to let Embracer Group buy you out. Even if it seems like a terrible idea, at least the owners of the company can cash out. And it's unfortunate because I would like to see more indie game studios stay independent. And I think some of them can. Terraria, we talked about that. They're doing very well, but not every indie game is as big as Terraria. Not every indie game is as big as Minecraft, and even Notch sold out. So what are you going to do? Big video game makers like Epic and EA have gone through substantial layoffs in the past year. Amid the turmoil, according to this article, many indie studios are getting shut down completely, threatening a dearth of new ideas. So we're talking about Microsoft games. They were running out of money, and they had a Persona-like RPG called Demon School, which I haven't heard about. It shipped in September. In March, this was in March, and prospects were looking glum. The funding climate for video games was dangerously bad, especially for small projects, and layoffs seem to happen at studios across the industry almost weekly. Then a Hail Mary. Sheffield, an industry veteran with over a decade of experience, was able to secure a contract for Microsoft to do some work on another game. So they're basically outsourcing their staff to other games. It wasn't an ideal situation. The studio would have to do work while also finishing Demon School, but it was a necessary one. It was the only way to survive because nobody was funding anything. It's also better than what's happening to a lot of people where they're told they have to just shut down. Studio's troubles are hardly unique. They said after a harsh year of layoffs in 2023, GamesIndustry.biz reported in January that company heads were already eyeing 2024 as the year of closure. After a boom in hiring during COVID, things cooled off. Now, that's huge because people seem to think that COVID wasn't going to end. We saw this in the entertainment industry, just across the board. We saw it in comics. We saw it definitely in streaming in Hollywood. They thought everybody was going to be locked in their houses forever. There was never a plan beyond making massive amounts of money this year because people have nothing else to do except sit around, play video games, read comic books, play tabletop games, watch a lot of Netflix. And then we saw, like, once everybody was allowed to go outside again, that just all of this stuff started to implode, right? So you had, blow one was all businesses shut down, and then the economy went to hell. And then you had people moving studios out of certain states because of the mandates, and just everything got... there was a hand grenade tossed into the economy, into the way things work. Like, I keep telling my kids, everything is broken now. Everything is broken. You go to the grocery store, it's not the same as it was before the pandemic. You go to the bank, it's not the same as it was before the pandemic. Everything is broken. It's hard to get contractors. It's hard to get anybody to go to work. And the people that go to work want paid twice as much. And the food costs 3 times as much. I mean, it's just, that's a whole nother rant. But like, everything has been broken. So yeah, it makes total sense that the video game industry is also broken. Why wouldn't it be? So a lot of game developers say mismanagement is making things worse. Avenues smaller developers could once rely on for cash, like offering their games as exclusives on the Epic Game Store, Microsoft Game Pass, are no longer open to them. In March, Chris Barausa, director of Slay the Spire developer Mega Crit, put it bluntly in an interview with PC Gamer. He said the gold rush is over. Yeah. Microsoft bought itself time to get its game across the finish line, but now, like so many other small developers, it remains in a precarious position. All of our hopes depend on this game being a success. Maybe I'll pick up a copy of it. I don't know if it's my thing or not. Let's go out and see what this game looks like, because maybe you guys can help them out if it looks good. We shall see here. If it loads. It's not loading. All right, well, let's, there we go. This doesn't really look like it's my thing, but it might be your thing. The agony and ecstasy of playing out your school years in games. Demon School. Well, it's basically what I expected it to be. It's Demon School. Well, it's not really my thing. But again, maybe it's your thing. Maybe you can help these guys out. Survive till 25. This is the same mantra that they have in Hollywood right now. Survive till 25. They're talking that they're assuming that we are encountering a long winter rather than having burned our crops for 3 years previous. They think that 2024 is going to be bad, but 2025 is going to be better. I think 2025 will be better for a lot of companies, but it's going to come at the expense of many companies going out of business this year. So yeah, they said unless we start planting differently, elsewhere developer Strange Scaffold says, unless we start planting differently, unless we start changing the way we work and think about making games, we're going to continue to see the highest highs and lowest lows the game has ever seen, and it might in fact just get worse for people. The video game industry is in free fall. Wow. How any particular company lands, though, depends on their size. Even large companies like Microsoft, Unity, Electronic Arts, and Ubisoft want to tighten their belts. They do layoffs. The company itself still exists. For independent game makers, the fallout is more existential. Since they're often run by small teams of fewer than a couple dozen people, belt tightening can mean simply shutting down. It's crazy. Yeah, Strange Scaffold studio head, I can't pronounce his name, Xavier? That's not Xavier, it's Xavier Nelson. The horrifying nature of indies is that death occurs in the dark. We're very much seeing this happen now. Yeah, because a lot of them are shutting down and nobody's talking about it. This is kind of scary, right? They said there aren't many public announcements. So you keep hearing about layoffs at like Microsoft and these other companies, but you're not hearing about all these indie studios that are just going out of business. So when indies disappear, players are losing more than they know. I agree with that. With fewer, smaller creative teams to make experimental games, players will have fewer choices or chances to find games that speak to them or surprise them. Yeah, and every once in a while they talk about Among Us, Innersloth, launching its own funding efforts to help a handful of small developers get the projects out the door. For every Among Us, there are probably 200 other developers that don't make ends meet, right? But the thing is, we do need these indie developers because the alternative is going back to Stellar Blade. Everything becomes homogenized. Everything goes public. Everything gets gobbled up by a bigger studio, and we have more homogenous, bland AAA titles. There's like no in between here anymore, which is very sad. I mean, Steam is fantastic in the fact that anybody can publish a game, but also anybody can publish a game, meaning those breakout hits are fewer and further between. So this is really interesting. It's really unfortunate. I mean, I would like to see more indie games get to the level of like Among Us or Minecraft or Terraria. I think that's what we need. I think the most promise for the future of gaming is with indie developers, because I think the AAA developers have lost the plot, and I think they've lost the plot out of necessity. Like, they have to create the blandest, most heavily marketed stuff out there to recoup their massive costs, and they just keep trying to like outdo each other with how much they spend, but it doesn't mean the game's any better. So there we go, guys. Yeah, this is some pretty interesting stuff. I'm gonna wrap this up. Please subscribe. Please check out our Patreon. We're going to be doing interviews on this channel. We're going to be doing some paranormal news like this, but with ghosts and UFOs and stuff. If you're into that, maybe some Bigfoot. Throw some Bigfoot in there for good. Maybe we'll get both. We'll do Bigfoot and UFOs and the Loch Ness Monster. What do you think about that? So check us out, patreon.com/clownfishtv, and we'll talk to you later.